You can all tell I was struggling. I was like, what the hell am I going to talk about here? What's up, all you Thurston Howell the Thirds? That's a deep cut. Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and today we're checking out another Electric Callboy song. Now, I'm going to be upfront with everybody. I was not feeling like doing this one. And I still kind of don't, but I still kind of don't. Not because I don't like Electric Callboy, but because we've done quite a few videos, and I like to try to give it some variety. But people are saying, nah, like give this one a try, and it's only 2 minutes, so I'm like, hey, why not? So we're gonna check it out. We're gonna see what there is to see, and that's all I know. But if you're new to the channel, again, my name is Mark. I am a metal vocalist in a band called Kardashev. We released an album, you can see the vinyl, back there on Metal Blade Records back in June 10th. Doesn't sound anything like Electric Callboy at all. But I don't know, maybe you'll like it. I'm also a vocal teacher, a vocal coach. Specifically, I specialize in teaching people how to do all these sorts of like types of sounds safely and efficiently and healthfully. I've been doing it myself for about 13 years, vocalizing. And what we do here is we take the reaction format, break it down, pause, talk about vocals. I tell you what the vocalist is doing, or if I'm not quite sure, I give you my best guess. Or I will show you, if maybe I don't really like the way that they're doing it, I'll show you how I approach it. That's always a risky game. But if you like the content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to me to watch the channel grow. And if you really love the content, make sure to hit the bell icon and check us out on Patreon. We've got a big community on Discord that is accessible through our Patreon, people from all around the big spherical globe that we walk on. And it's a lot of fun. We have listening parties pretty much every Friday night, karaoke events. And that's all I know. And that's enough of that. So let's see what kind of shenaniganery the Goofy Goobers in Electric Callboy are up to today. I think that's enough of an intro. Y'all have skipped ahead to 1:30 already. I know it anyway. So let's go ahead and check out Electric Callboy, and the song is called Hurricane. Here we go.
This video deals with sensitive issues, including German Schlager and death. It contains scenes that could be sexual, graphic, or taboo in nature. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Wenn ich all die Bilder sehe, dann denk ich nur an dich. Wie du gestern auf mir saßt, Gott, war das widerlich. Dein Geruch, der noch an mir klebt, der ist jetzt überall. Und schon klingelt mein Telefon, du willst mich noch einmal. Du bist wie ein Hurricane.
Okay, so I'm gonna be forthright. I am wondering why people have been telling me that this one is like, oh, you got to do it, because it's a good song so far. Nice solid chest voice, like nice even airflow. I totally dig it. Little bit of grit on those more open notes. With a 2-minute song, I'm not going to go too in depth talking about ways that we can do that, but with an even airflow is going to be essential for any type of singing that we do, right? So we have here, hey, kind of just singing in the chest, singing where we're comfortable. Hey, right there, la da 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 da. Some grit on the open spaces, pretty cool. Sounds good. Let's see where we go, because I'm not really sure.
Der sich durch mein Leben zieht, ohne Rast und Gefühl.
Okay.
Ziehst du mich immer wieder zu dir.
Okay, so that's something we can talk about. That's some fertile soil. So if we think about belting, which is basically what we had there, we had some gritty belting. We want to think about relaxation in the throat, right? Now, here's the thing. This is like 99% a metal channel. So there are definitely a lot of ways that clean belting relates to our metal vocals. If I'm going to be doing like a really good high scream, I'm utilizing a lot of the same support structures and a lot of the same mechanisms that I would use to belt, right? And so one great thing that we can do, I've talked about this on the channel before, one great thing that we can do if we want to start to approach belting as a type of singing is, number one, get our breathing fundamentals down first. Make sure that breathing is something that you can do pretty efficiently without having to think about it. It should be very second nature. So we're breathing in, our ribs are coming out, our abdomen is expanding but loose, right? That's a common misconception that when we want to breathe in for the sake of singing or screaming, that we're kind of pushing our stomach out. But if we push our stomach out, you can't really see it. If we push our stomach out, it's hard and we don't have anything to squeeze with, right? So what we want to do is we want to inhale lightly. We want to gently palpate the stomach muscles. Right? And if they're soft, we're on the right track, because then what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze in with our abdominal muscles. We're not going to collapse them. We're going to hold our ribs out, and that's going to let us sort of get into this like call register, you can call it. So a good way to understand this is, if I was calling out to a friend, hey, 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 right? And if you're having trouble getting to that space, you can start with like a nice simple chest voice sound, not too loud, but nicely projected. Sing a yo, and then slide up to an A. And as you descend, focus on that relaxation. So as I ascend, as I glissando and crescendo upwards, I'm slowly squeezing in on my abdominal muscles, and I'm thinking about the sound of my voice filling up the space kind of behind my nose, this masky area, right? And we can slowly increase. Right now I'm just kind of stabbing in the dark here, but yo way, yo way, yo way, yo way. And that'll just help us learn what it's like to lift our voice close to or even above our vocal break in a way that's not going to involve squeezing the throat, because by controlling the abdominal muscles, you can let the throat relax. And if you're really going to be doing any type of vocal work, knowing the amount of relaxation which you need which is almost going to be pure relaxation all the time, right? There are certain techniques where we use strategic points of constriction, but for most of what we're going to do, we're going to be focused on relaxation. Even when I'm doing stuff like I need my throat to be relaxed. But let's give this fine dapper gentleman a wink back and keep going.
Bist wie ein Hurrikan, der sich durch mein Leben zieht. Und du weißt ganz genau, ich kann dir niemals wieder entkommen. Friss mich aus.
Thank God. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm sure you could all tell I was struggling. I'm gonna be honest. All right, I'm gonna shred the curtain in the room here. I'm gonna let you see the man behind the curtain, and you can all tell I was struggling. I was like, what the hell am I gonna talk about here? Because I could have talked about like gritty singing and stuff like that, but that's not why people come to this channel. Carnivox Academy is all about like these sludgy like types of sounds, and I was like, what the hell am I doing with this video? Thank God. Oh man, I was like, I don't even know if I want to upload this. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I was like, I don't even know if I want to upload this. Okay, holy shit. There was a lot going on. I want to listen to it a little bit more. Thank God. Thank goodness. I want to listen to that again, but I heard a lot of different stuff. I heard fry screams. I heard false chord screams. I heard like tighter, like more written noidal sounds. There's a lot that we can talk about rapid fire articulation and even airflow. God, thank goodness. All right, let's go back. Y'all, I was struggling. I was absolutely struggling. All right, so I'm gonna get kind of pausey here. Then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
Ich kann dir niemals wieder entkommen. Friss mich aus.
So there we've already got a couple things going on. So the main thing I want to talk about is that low. There are a couple layers in that vocal. It sounded like we had a mid and a high, but the low, that was the main layer. That, at least here. Now, one thing about the guys in Electric Callboy is that they will bounce back and forth between false chord and fry. I have noticed that they do, and this is super common, they will not always, but as a trend, utilize false chord as the bass for their lows, sometimes bringing their arytenoids in there, and then they tend to, but not always, utilize fry vocals for their high screams. So this type of scream here that you're hearing, this is, it's not being delivered in this way, but it's like a very like mellow death low. Check it out, listen. That sounds very like deathcore, death metal, maybe even slammy, but it's just because of the music that's surrounding it. It's a bassline false chord sound. A, O, 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 O. And then there's a little bit of strategic constriction at the top of the throat. And when you do that, when you bring in that strategic constriction, it creates for you a more gurgly and narrow airflow. And it sounds, I don't know why I'm so burpy. Maybe it was that big gasp when this change happened. I filled my stomach with air. But that takes your false chord from being oh, oh, which is very old school, to oh, whoa, oh, or even more so, whoa. Now, I am doing some tongue manipulation in there to help it as well. But that's a scream you hear a lot. If you're going to hear a melodeath band doing a low, it's going to be a lot of that. It's going to be a lot of that. Usually it doesn't involve as much tongue curling, though. But that's not a hard scream to do at all. In fact, that's usually with my students, we start off more often than not always, but we usually start off with a loose false chord low. Hey, 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 then get a little bit of that. Hey, 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 then just do tongue work. And then you have all sorts of cool tones, right? So that was really cool. Let's keep going. Good golly. Zombie Sailors. Okay, I'm into it. All right. Seal of approval. Before I was like, nope, this song's not for me. But okay, I see the value now. That was a great tone on that fry scream. That was solid. Listen to that. So he's got his mouth. Okay, obviously I can't see his mouth, so there's a little bit of guesswork, but I'm pretty confident. He's got his jaw dropped, and he's got like a yeah, right there. There's a lot we can do with our metal vocals by letting our tongue rest on our bottom lip. It's a really good way to get like a sort of like vomity sounding low. There we go. Can sound cool with highs as well. Right? It can really create a lot of cool tones. He has a lot of open space in the pharyngeal area as well. He's really, really opening it up. And that's the cool thing about fry screams as well, is that fry screams tend to, when you start, they tend to sound very thin, right? They're going to sound very thin because it's built on, almost lost my boom arm there. It's built on this, like that. That's like the lowest baseline sound. That's the sound. That's not even the scream yet. That's the sound that it's sort of based on. And then you learn to project through that. But you can create with fry screams, you can create a lot of openings and really let different frequencies in like the stack of frequencies that is your voice kind of ring out and shine out through there. So go ahead and listen to that. That's pretty good. He might. There's definitely a lot of fry in there. I would say that is very much a fry based scream, but I'm also hearing some vibration of supraglottal tissues above that. When I say supraglottal, by the way, what I mean is the tissues. Look at this screenshot. Dude looks like an absolute caveman. His head looks like the tip of a thumb. Oh, and it's just because of the blur. I'm not saying anything bad about the way this guy looks, but come on, that's funny. But when I say supraglottal, I mean above the vocal folds. The space that your vocal folds occupy, the space between them, that's called the glottis, right? So subglottal below. So when we talk about subglottal pressure, we're talking about pressure underneath the vocal folds. When we talk about supraglottal tissue, above vocal fold tissue. And I'm hearing some rattle. It sounds like he's taking his airway and slightly narrowing it. So instead of this open airflow, we have yeah, so you can hear he's got a lot more crackle than I do. So I don't know. I'd have to pick his brain a little bit about that. But it does sound like there's a little bit of that constricting. So we're getting a little bit of like this sort of ooh, there. It's not quite, but I think that's sort of on the right track. Anyways, let's keep going. Okay, so Jesus Christ, she is like going full bore on this dude. That sounds like bad phrasing. Sorry. Like she's punching the dude with her teeth. So let's talk about some of those high vocals. So those high vocals are a little bit different. Those are a lot more relaxed and open. You hear high vocals like this. A lot of people call them a false chord high. I do personally think that the you can start with a false chord as your bass. Hey, 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 right? But a lot of the distortion as you lift, because you're basically moving from chest voice to head voice, right? A lot of that distortion starts to ride in the back of your mouth. Like when I do that, what are the names? Palatine folds, I believe. Palato-epiglottal, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank, but basically when you open your mouth and you look in the back, you can see these tissues that look kind of like curtains almost. And as you raise your soft palate, oftentimes those tissues will come together if you're focusing on raising it in a certain way. And a lot of the distortion it feels like it comes from that space, right? Now, it's a really good high vocal to do, and it's the one that I predominantly use. Because I'm a lazy piece of shit, right? And I like doing my vocals as much of the easy way as I possibly can. When I was learning vocals, a lot of people, and like I'm not trying to pump my own tires here. A lot of people do a lot of amazing things, but I was lazy. People were like, "Oh, how can I manipulate this tone and doing all this like crazy work?" And that's awesome and that's cool and I support it and I love it. But for me, I was like, I'd be on MySpace and it'd be like, because that's the era that I learned in, and people would be like, "Here's my 7-step false chord tutorial," and I was like, back button, 7's too high a number for me. So I like this type of high because it's very loose in the throat and very air up and out. And you can create really cool tones. It's also a great tone for rapid fire articulation because it's so based on relaxation and there's not a whole lot of finesse to it, right? So you can take that, and what you want to do is, number one, you want to have an even airflow. Absolutely key. You want to have your ribs open, you want to be squeezing your abdominal muscles, and you're creating a light amount of pressure in your lungs and the space between your lungs and the distortion space, right? The distortion mechanism, there's a little bit of air pressure. So when the air leaves, that air is leaving because it is dense. The gas is denser in my body than it is out in the world around me. So I'm not pushing my air out. I'm creating a little space for the air to release through, and it goes on its own. Kind of like if you had a water balloon and you poked it with a needle, right? And it didn't pop, that air would just, or water would just shoot out in a steady stream because physics is doing the work. I'm not doing the work. So that's one thing. A really great way to practice an even airflow is to really focus on holding clean notes. You can do this with a straw, by the way, or like another thing you can do, I just filled this up, is you can blow bubbles. This is an old school exercise. Speech therapists use this a lot as well. People helping people, or doctors helping people recover from vocal injuries. You can take a breath in and just try to keep the bubbles really, really steady. So you breathe in. Once you do that, you can hum while you do it. From there, you can graduate to a straw. Graduate. You can graduate to a straw. And then from there, once that feels comfortable, you can focus on a really forward tone. Now, keep in mind, you're never going to have a 1000% steady tone. But if it stays pretty steady, you're good to go. And then the way that we want to focus on rapid fire vocals are a thing that I really find interesting, and they're really cool to do. If we focus on these rapid fire vocals, the first thing we need to understand is that if I do this, I think I talked about this in a recent video, I don't remember, but if I do, I don't know the lyrics here. I'll do some more rap god because that's the first thing that I always think of with fast vocals, right? So if I do this, right? When I do that, there are two things that are happening. One, I'm just doing this. That's happening underneath. And my mouth is doing this. Right? So there is one sound, one even tone that is articulating, that is being articulated by the mouth. Doesn't mean it's always easy, right? But that's the main thing that we want to think about. So go ahead and listen to that, and think about even airflow. I think right here. I would love to see them perform this song live just for that moment. That was legit. All right, say what you want about Electric Callboy. Anybody who watches this channel knows that I think they're a lot of fun, but they're certainly not one of my favorite bands, right? But they're fun. They're fun to listen to. That was some vocal prowess, especially if one was to do it in one take. Started with a false chord, lifted up to a high vocal, switched into, again, I'm sure that for the, in the studio, these are on separate tracks, but if he was to do this, and this is possible, I'll be real, this would be really hard for me to do. I would have to work on this for probably a couple of weeks. But starting off on that low false chord, lifting up, switching to a really high, really concise, whistly fry scream pig squeal, and then opening up to that gritty belting. That's a maneuver. Woo, that is a maneuver. Let's listen to it again, because I think that's basically where the song ends. But listen to that. Listen to the and by the way, if you're wanting to practice these things, there are a couple things to keep in mind. One, it is just kind of hard to switch between screams and sounds, right? Doesn't mean it's not possible, but it just means accept that it's going to be a difficult task and try to master them separately, right? So let's say I wanted to go from a high scream, which is kind of what he does here, a high scream to a clean tone, right? So I'm first going to try to get good at this. Yeah. Then I'm going to, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey. And I'm going to do them kind of separately, and I'm going to move between them that way. I'm going to slowly bring them together. You can also be strategic in your songwriting too. Like, for example, if I'm here, I know that the pitch that shares, this is important, not the pitch that I am necessarily using, because I'm letting my vocal folds relax. Right? They're not really doing anything, but that vocal tract is optimal for certain pitches, right? So if I'm here, maybe if I want to switch from that guttural to clean singing, and if assuming it's in key, maybe I'll start with that note. I'll start my melody on that note. Something to think about, right? Let's hear that again, and then we'll probably wrap it up. How the hell did I turn a 2-minute song into a 25-minute video? We'll see how that does for the numbers, y'all. We'll see. See, this is why I'm a big fan of the virus zombie, especially when the virus spreads like airborne or through water or something like that. Because if you think about it, I have never seen, I don't think it's very common in zombie movies for the zombie to bite, release, and leave, right? Zombies don't really do that. So like, a zombie virus primarily being spread through bite, I think would kind of peter out pretty quickly, because the zombies just eat to kill, right? Unless, of course, it like reanimates the dead, but then we're kind of getting to like the magic zombie realm. And if you're going like magic, like sorcery zombies, then, it's hard to say. But I know a lot of people have very fiery zombie very, very fiery zombie opinions. So if you have a what is your opinion? What's the most realistic type of zombie? And how would you survive it? Here's a clue. You don't have to be too fast. Just be faster than the guy next to you. Something to think about. Anyway, okay. Electric Callboy, HURRIKAN. Not at all what I expected. The teaser is 13 seconds, so the majority of the song. Just kidding. I'm very glad it took that turn because I was not sure where I was going to take this video in the moment. But yes, think about even airflow. Think about holding a steady tone, which will help your articulation be a lot smoother and faster. Think about distortion being high in the back of the mouth, or at least the top of the throat. You never want these low, clicky, that sound. It's not gonna do you very good. The clickiest sound we can work with is, but even that's feeling like it's kind of at and slightly below the tongue. I'm going to leave it there because the whole song threw me for an entire loop, so I'm a little scatterbrained and not quite sure where I'm going with this. So anybody who's in our Discord knows I'm kind of long-winded. That being said, thank you for watching. Appreciate your time. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you want to. If you hated it, I don't know. Downvote it anyway because that's still some interaction. And beyond that, many thanks. Much love. I'm out.